The front door creaked open, and the sound, which had always been a reassuring part of the familiar rhythm of our home, hit my ears like an out-of-place chord in a song. Sarah had come home later than usual, but that wasn't the unsettling part. It was her smile, bright, almost blinding in its warmth. The kind of smile she usually reserved for special moments, like anniversaries or the day we brought our puppy home. But this smile felt like a mask, a carefully constructed facade that didn't quite reach her eyes. I was seated at my desk in the study, the glow from my laptop casting a soft blue light across the room. For the past 2 weeks, I had been meticulously planning, scripting, and building. This wasn't something I decided on impulsively. No, it was a result of months of growing suspicion. Those fleeting glances at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking, the late-night work calls, and the ever-widening distance in the way she looked at me. It had been a slow burn, and now it had finally reached a breaking point. "Hey," she said, her voice unnaturally cheerful, with a note too high-pitched. "How was your day?" I lifted my gaze from the screen, keeping my expression neutral, carefully composed. "It was fine. Quiet. Yours?" I kept my tone even despite the bitterness bubbling beneath the surface. "Oh, the usual. Just a lot." She trailed off as she walked toward the kitchen, the clink of dishes and the sound of the refrigerator door opening echoing in the otherwise silent house. "A lot," she added, her voice trailing off in a way that made me think of something else entirely. I couldn't help but think. A lot like the lot of nights spent with someone else. But I pushed the thought down, forcing myself to stay calm. I let her busy herself in the kitchen for a few moments, the rhythmic sounds giving me time to collect my thoughts. This wasn't going to be a dramatic confrontation. I had passed through anger and sadness. What remained now was a cold, calculated resolve. I didn't need to scream or yell. I wanted her to truly understand the weight of her betrayal. After a few minutes, she walked into the study again, a glass of wine in hand, her smile now fading into something more uncertain, more fragile. She looked like a cornered animal, trying to assess the danger she knew was approaching. "What are you working on?" she asked, her eyes flicking to my laptop screen. It was casual, but I could tell she was on edge. The website displayed on my screen was innocuous enough at a glance. My coding platform, a site I'd spent countless hours building. The tool I was about to reveal. "Just a little project," I said, letting a small, almost imperceptible smile cross my lips. "Something I've been meaning to finish for a while." She leaned closer, her eyes scanning the screen. I could feel the tension radiating off her like heat from an open flame. "What is it, exactly?" she asked, her voice laced with curiosity but edged with nervousness. I pushed my chair back, standing slowly. "I think it's better if I show you." I walked around the desk and placed my hands lightly on her shoulders. She flinched, her body stiffening at the touch as if it felt wrong, strange. I imagined it must have felt surreal to her, like she was watching a movie of someone else's life. "Just sit down for a minute," I said, guiding her gently toward my chair. She hesitated before sitting down, her eyes never leaving my face, a mix of confusion and dread clouding her usually bright expression. I stepped back, pulling a small, unassuming USB drive from my pocket. It held the culmination of weeks of careful planning. I plugged it into the side of the laptop, and the screen flickered as it displayed something new. What appeared was a website, similar in appearance to many others, but with one key unique feature. It was a meticulously crafted database, a digital monument to her infidelity. I had uploaded a series of photos, grainy, distant shots, but there was no mistaking who they were of. They were taken at the bar she had visited the night before under the guise of a work event. But instead of working, there she was, laughing, touching, and kissing another man. However, the photos weren't the hard part of the presentation. It was the interactive timeline below that truly captured everything. Every phone call, every text, every late-night outing she had claimed was related to work over the past several months was documented there. Each entry had been meticulously timestamped, cross-referenced with her phone's call logs and GPS data, and annotated with a summary of what I now recognized as lies. The first entry was a phone call, a brief 2-minute conversation. It marked the beginning of it all. A call she made from the garage when she thought I was asleep. It seemed harmless. A simple call to arrange a lunch with a client. But I had added a recording taken from the same time and place. The recording wasn't a work call. It was of her whispering to a supposed client about how eagerly she awaited seeing him. I watched as Sarah's eyes scanned the screen, her face draining of color. She stood frozen, terror overtaking her. The smile that had once been there, the false bravado, was gone, replaced by pure, unfiltered fear. It was then she saw it for what it was, a meticulously documented, irrefutable record of her betrayal. I didn't take pleasure in watching her crumble like this. I wasn't angry, not anymore. What I felt was an overwhelming, aching sadness. I could have screamed. I could have yelled and lashed out. But I just stood there, letting the weight of her lies settle around her like an unbearable burden. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. How did you? I pointed to the screen. It's all there, Sarah. Every lie, every betrayal, every secret you tried to hide. It's all laid out for anyone to see. I had made sure the website was publicly accessible. So it wasn't just me who would see it. It was everyone. Her friends, her family, her colleagues. They were all going to witness the fallout of her actions. It would ripple through her life like a tidal wave, leaving nothing untouched. No, she choked, her hand over her mouth in horror. No, you can't do this. Please, I'm begging you. Tears streamed down her face, but I felt nothing. Her tears were as hollow as the promises she had made to me. I had been expecting this. I had even rehearsed my response, knowing exactly what I was going to say. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of a dramatic outburst. I'm not the one who decided to do this, Sarah, I said, my voice calm and controlled. You made your choices. Now you get to live with the consequences. She lunged at the laptop, her fingers frantic on the keyboard, trying desperately to shut it down, to erase everything. I stepped back, watching her in silence, a passive observer to her frantic attempts to undo what she had done. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, she sobbed, her voice breaking. I didn't mean to hurt you. It was just a mistake. A mistake. She called it a mistake. What she had done wasn't a single error. It was a calculated act of deception, carefully planned over months. And now she reduced it to a mere word. The thing about mistakes, Sarah, I said, taking a step closer, my eyes locking onto hers, is that they're supposed to happen once. You didn't make a mistake. You did this repeatedly, knowingly, with intent. And now, I paused, letting the weight of my words settle in. You get to face the consequences. Without another word, I turned and walked away, leaving her there. A broken, sobbing mess in front of her digital confessional. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The damage was done. The truth was out, and there was no going back. I packed a bag, walked out the door, and drove to the airport, my one-way ticket already booked. As the plane ascended, I looked down at the city, the lights shimmering like scattered fragments below. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I was free. I had finally closed that painful chapter of my life. As for Sarah, I knew her hell was just beginning.